I'm never touching this level ever again. Before we get into the completion, I just want to highlight the areas that gave me the most trouble and the most pain and complain about them. Because if you're an inexperienced Geometry Dash scrub like I am, you're gonna want an idea of how painful this was to complete. So let's get started. Okay, so at 3% we already have issues. I have no problems with this wave part itself, but like, why does this transition exist though? I've died here more times than I could count and I still couldn't find a method to get through here consistently. Either that or I just didn't even bother trying to. Alright, next is the deadly 5% jump. This lone green orb has probably cost me about 200 attempts alone because of its position. Because whenever I hit it, it's basically a 50-50 chance if I jump on the first block, fall between said first block and the second, and die, or if I somehow live and continue on my merry way. I've hit the orb the same way every single time, but what follows will always change. This jump alone is probably the reason why this completion took longer than it should have. So then we skip to 9 to 10%. Again, the green orbs reign over my geometric graveyard and thus makes my rage fuel my red hot tamale face into even more red hot tamaliness. This is similar to the 5% orb, instead this time the reason for its existence is quite the opposite. I actually end up not going high enough and die at the block I'm supposed to land on. This happens if you apparently click the pink orb too early. Fast forward to the 25% UFO. There's an infinite quantity of ways to transition into this part, but the level wants you to enter only one of the 500,000 ways this transition could work without perishing. 28%. If you hit this blue orb the slightest bit late, you're going up into the ceiling and skipping past the pink jump pad. Now to pass the 30% pink orb, you gotta not worry somehow, because when you die there a couple of times by hitting it too early, you'll eventually get it into your head that you need to click later. But when you do, there's a good chance that your ship will go sicko mode and either die or almost die to the spikes on the following corridor at the top. We have some more bad UFO transitions at 39%. This took me quite a bit to find a consistent way to pass this section. Tap once? Don't tap at all? Die? What will you choose? But this pretty much concludes this abomination of the first half of the level. Now on to the second. Now surprisingly, I only died to this wave part once in normal mode, and it's likely that I have no problems with it because of that. But then it all goes downhill and transitions into an auto mini-wave where you're suddenly thrown into a UFO. This is also the worst possible way you could have started a UFO section following it. You can enter the mini-wave section however and wherever, and the fact that the UFO transition depends on it makes this section infinitely times more annoying since there's a pink orb corridor immediately after it, which you have to be spot on, otherwise you'll have to face the first 50% of misery again. And to add the cherry on top, out of the 6 total jump orbs in the corridor, there's this one green orb you'll have to hit perfectly as well, otherwise you'll mess up on future sections. Oh, wanna know another way you can mess up the UFO? The 63% ledge. You land on it, you're good. You don't land on it, you either don't react or you freak out and you die. Now you're at the last part. But as always, the level never gets any better in gameplay. But before we get into that, here's an editor pro tip for you level creators out there. Do not build a slow robot with constantly ascending blocks and spikes that you have to avoid, especially with bounce easing. Dying here would more than likely make the experience extraordinarily worse than it already was, but thankfully I fluked this section when completing it, so that was a huge relief for me. I could have pulled a Safari where I died on the last robot like 3 times, but thank God luck was finally on my side. And that's basically it. Almost the entire remaining 21% is just auto. Just enough time to let you reflect on your life choices and contemplate why you decided to do this piece of garbage. Yeah, that's basically the end of my rant. So, enjoy the completion now. Oh my god. I'm finally done. I'm finally done. Oh my god. Oh my god. I'm finally done.